Welcome to our deep dive on Microsoft Azure subscriptions and governance. Today, we will explore how to effectively manage, secure, and govern your cloud environment. Let's get started. Let's start by defining what an Azure subscription is. An Azure subscription forms the core of any Azure environment and is a foundational component of every Azure implementation. At its absolute basics, every single resource you deploy, whether it's a virtual machine or a database, must reside in an Azure subscription. Why do we need them? Subscriptions act as a strict billing boundary and provide a perimeter for role-based access control. They represent the agreement between you and Microsoft to use cloud services. How do you get one? You can sign up for a free trial, use a pay-as-you-go model, or provision them through an enterprise agreement. As a deep dive, remember that while subscriptions grant you access to deploy resources, they also serve as the boundary for usage monitoring and resource quotas. Let's look at this structural flowchart. At the very top, we have your overarching Azure account or enterprise agreement. This account holds your Azure subscription, which acts as the primary container. Below the subscription, we branch into our resource groups, which are logical folders for your project. Finally, inside those resource groups, we find our actual deployed resources, like virtual machines and storage accounts. The subscription wraps around all of this to manage billing and access. Moving forward, we must understand how security works at the subscription level. Every Azure subscription maintains a strict trust relationship with a Microsoft Entra ID directory. What does this mean? It means the subscription relies entirely on Entra ID to authenticate users, services, and devices. For the basics, you must remember a golden rule. A single Azure subscription can be associated with one, and only one, Microsoft Entra tenant. Why? Because having a single source of truth for identity ensures secure, centralized access management. As a deep dive, while a subscription maps to only one tenant creating a one-to-one relationship, a single Microsoft Entra tenant can be associated with multiple Azure subscriptions. This one-to-many design allows an organization to use the same users and groups to manage resources across numerous subscriptions. This diagram visualizes the vital trust relationship between identity and your subscriptions. At the top sits the Microsoft Entra ID tenant. Notice the solid arrows pointing downward to Subscription 1 and Subscription 2, demonstrating the one-to-many capability of the tenant. However, if you look at the dotted arrows from the subscriptions back to the tenant, they establish a strict one-to-one relationship. Every access request to the resources at the bottom must pass through this authentication gateway. As your footprint grows, you must manage your subscription service limits, also known as quotas. What are quotas? They are built-in restrictions on how many resources of a specific type you can deploy within a subscription. For instance, the number of virtual machine cores might be limited to 20 per region by default. Why do these exist? They prevent accidental massive deployments and protect overall cloud capacity. How do you manage this? As an administrator, you navigate to your subscription in the portal and select the Usage plus Quotas blade. Here, you can view your current consumption. If you hit a limit, you simply click New Quota Request. For a deep dive, be aware that while some quota increase requests are approved automatically by the system, larger requests require a formal support ticket with business justification and manual approval from Microsoft. Let's trace the quota increase workflow using this sequence diagram. An administrator begins by checking the Usage and Quotas blade in the Azure portal. Once they see that a specific limit, like VM cores, has been reached, they submit a new quota request through the portal. The portal routes this request directly to Microsoft support. Finally, support processes the request, either automatically approving it or placing it under manual review, ultimately adjusting the subscription limits. How do we manage multiple subscriptions efficiently? Enter Azure Management Groups. What are they? Management groups are organizational containers that sit above your subscriptions in the hierarchy. The basics of this feature involve grouping your subscriptions based on functional or geographic divisions. Why do we use them? Because applying policies or access controls to every single subscription manually is an administrative nightmare. Management groups allow you to apply an Azure policy or RBC assignment at a high level, and it automatically trickles down to all subscriptions beneath it. As a deep dive into the architecture, remember that this hierarchy can be up to 6 levels deep. At the very top, there is a single tenant root group that is created by default, which cannot be deleted, and all subsequent groups and subscriptions fall under it. This hierarchy chart shows management groups in action. At the very top, highlighted in orange, is the tenant root group, the ultimate parent of your environment. Beneath it, we've created two management groups, one for IT and one for HR. Below the IT group, we placed our production and dev/test subscriptions. Any security policy we apply to the IT management group will automatically flow down into both the prod and dev/test subscriptions through inheritance, ensuring consistent governance. Let's discuss multi-subscription strategies. What is this? It's the practice of using multiple Azure subscriptions to segment your organization's cloud footprint. For the basics, you might create separate subscriptions for different business units like finance and marketing, or different environments like production and user acceptance testing. Why do we do this? Firstly, it cleanly segregates billing and cost centers. Secondly, it provides strict resource isolation, ensuring a developer can't accidentally break a production database. Finally, it helps you scale without hitting those service quotas we discussed earlier. For a deep dive, modern cloud design often uses a hub and spoke subscription model. In this design, a central hub subscription holds shared resources, like Active Directory and firewalls, while workload-specific spoke subscriptions connect back to it. Look at this hub and spoke subscription model. In the center, highlighted in green, we have the hub subscription, which acts as the shared space for identity, networking, and security services. Radiating out from the hub are our spoke subscriptions for production, dev/test, and HR applications. The solid lines show that spokes can access the shared hub services. However, the dotted line between production and dev/test indicates strong isolation, keeping those environments strictly separated to prevent accidental interference. How do we secure access to our subscriptions? We use Azure Role-Based Access Control, or Azure RBC. What is it? RBC is the authorization system used to manage access to Azure resources by assigning roles to security principals. The basics revolve around foundational built-in roles. The owner has full access, the contributor can manage resources, but cannot grant access to others, and the reader can only view resources. Why is this critical? It allows you to enforce the principle of least privilege, giving users only the exact permissions they need to do their job. How do we apply this? You navigate to the Access Control, or IAM, blade on the subscription and create a role assignment. As a deep dive, Azure historically used classic subscription administrator roles like co-administrator, but these are being deprecated. You should always use Azure RBC for fine-grained access management. This diagram maps out a standard Azure RBC assignment. On the left, we identify the security principal, which could be a user or a group. We then assign them a role definition, such as owner, contributor, or reader, which dictates their allowed actions. Finally, we apply this assignment at a specific scope, which in this case is the entire subscription, highlighted in orange. This grants the principal the defined access to all resources within that boundary. A major part of managing subscriptions is cost control, which brings us to budgets. What are Azure budgets? They are monitoring mechanisms found within Azure Cost Management designed to proactively track and manage your cloud spend. For the basics, you define a budget by setting a monetary amount, a reset period like monthly or quarterly, and specific alert thresholds, such as 90% of the budget. Why do we use them? To drive organizational accountability and ensure business units understand their consumption. How do you set them up? You access the Cost Management plus Billing blade in the portal and configure the budget parameters. Here is a crucial deep dive fact. Budgets are strictly a monitoring and notification tool. When a budget threshold is exceeded, a notification is sent to an action group, but Azure will not automatically stop or shut down your running resources. Let's walk through the lifecycle of a budget alert. We start by setting a subscription budget of $10,000. Azure continuously monitors the daily spend against this amount. The system constantly asks, has the spend crossed our 90% threshold? If no, it keeps monitoring. If yes, it triggers an alert. This alert hits an action group, sending an email to the administrator. Importantly, as highlighted in red at the bottom, the cloud resources continue running without interruption. For our final slide, let's deep dive into maintaining governance across your subscription using tags and Azure Policy. What are these? Tags are custom name-value metadata pairs applied to resources, while Azure Policy enforces compliance rules. Why use them together? Tags are crucial for chargeback models, allowing finance to bill specific departments for their consumption. Policy ensures that no resource is created unless it meets corporate standards, like being in a specific approved region. How do they interact? You can actually use Azure Policy to automatically append required tags to any new resource. Here is a vital deep dive. Unlike RBC, tags applied to a subscription or resource group are not automatically inherited by the resources inside them. If you want every resource to have a cost center tag, you must use Azure policy to enforce that inheritance. This sequence diagram shows Azure policy acting as the ultimate gatekeeper for your subscription. A user attempts to deploy a virtual machine without the mandatory cost center tag. The subscription hands the request to Azure policy, which checks the rules and instantly denies the deployment. The user corrects their mistake, requesting the deployment again, this time with the correct tag. Azure policy evaluates the compliant request and approves it, allowing the deployment to proceed securely.
Welcome to quicktechie.com. So just type in quicktechie.com here. Then you can go through the material which is provided by Quicktechie. So we have first of all video courses which you can go here and you can find the various video courses across the technologies as well as finance domain. So if you see in Microsoft, we have 8 programs currently running. Next, you can go through the ebooks available. So all the ebooks which are in PDF format today, and you can download this. So let me go through Microsoft certification ebooks. You can click on any of this and you can see this is the PDF available for you to download. So these are the premium ebook mostly available on quicktechie.com platform only. Now the second part is exam simulator. As we primarily focus on the all technology companies and finance domain certification preparation material. So this is company wide listed here and you can go through this. So let me go through the Microsoft one again. You can see these are all Microsoft related certification. AB730 exam, if you open it, so you can see here this and all the practice papers are available here. Today we have a 5 practice paper. So click on the first practice paper. It would load the questions. You can answer this question. This is way you can answer it and you can move to the next question. Now third material we wanted to highlight is an audiobook. So we started recently with the audiobooks as well, which you can listen on the go, and various technology wise ebooks are available. And at the last, this is our alumni. These people who are subscribing to our courses and this platform, they are all listed here. And at the end, I wanted to tell you, if you find any course or training or certification preparation material which you want to get us prepared for yourself, please put on the comment section. If you're watching on YouTube, on Udemy, or on this platform itself, quicktechie.com, then please put the comment, or you can even send an email to using this contact us options here. You can directly do the WhatsApp message. You can call us on this numbers as well.